You are listening to the Two Writers Walk Into a Bar podcast. In every episode, our goal is to help, inspire, and celebrate authors' journey to publication by reading and critiquing query letters, then tackle a writing topic we hope you find helpful. Welcome back, guys. We are two writers walk into a bar, and by the time this episode airs, it's going to be a little late. We're feeling a little under the weather.
Yep, here.
Ken's fighting a cold, so but he's a champ, and he's putting the work in. So thank
With
you, Ken, for that.
new facial hair.
And new facial hair,
Not by
yes.
choice. Not by choice. work thing.
Ken's got a new job, guys, and
Yeah.
the job told him to cut off the beard, but that's okay. It's fine. It looks fine. I'm sure it was probably a shock, but it's fine.
Yeah, for sure.
So I'm having a rosé in a can.
Oh, nice.
I don't know if you're drinking anything, Ken.
Yes, I am. I
Okay.
need it.
A little bit of cough syrup.
Maker's Mark and Pepsi right now.
Best cough syrup.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, guys, we have a fun episode planned. If you listen to our last episode, we mentioned that we wanted to talk about Stephen King's book on writing. We both have our books. Ken has the original. Mine is different. Totally
my
different.
dad's old copy.
Ah, that's so 90s. Cool.
Or 80s, I don't remember exactly.
Yeah. So first what we're gonna do is we don't have a query letter today. But if you're listening and you're querying and you want us to take a look at your query letter, email us at twowritersinAbar@gmail.com, and we'll be more than happy to look it over for you and let you know what's working, what's missing, and all that jazz. So but we were tagged on Facebook by a good friend of mine, Lydia Wrights. She tagged us, and then we have some questions here that we're going to answer, and then we're going to tag another YouTuber at the end. So the first question, Ken, I'm going to ask you first, and you can answer, and then I'll give you my answer. So number one is, how many books do you read at once?
Just a single one, for sure.
Just one at a time?
Yeah. I can't bounce around like that at all.
So sometimes it depends. If I have one on my Kindle, I can read that on my Kindle, and then I'll read like a physical book. So sometimes I can read 2 books at a time.
Yeah.
But right now I'm actually reading 2 different books.
Are you? Nice.
I got 2 new books, and I started reading both of them. They're at the very early stages of my reading, but yes, I've done multiple books. Okay, number 2, if you read more than one book at a time, when do you decide to switch? Okay, so kind of answer that a little bit. If it's on a Kindle, I'll read that at night, just because I can be on my phone with like the lights off and be able to read whatever, and I don't keep my husband awake. But right now, since I'm reading 2 books, I think I'm just kind of go on my mood. I am a bit of a mood reader. So one is like a fantasy, and the other one's more like commercial, I guess you could say.
Okay.
So I'm gonna say that probably depends on my mood, if what I feel like reading that day.
Fair enough.
Yeah. All right. And then number 3, do you ever switch bookmarks part way through a book?
Depends on if I lose it or not.
Okay.
If I don't lose it, no, I'm sticking with it till the end. But if I do lose it, gotta find
Oh my
something else
God.
to make
Well,
do.
I don't think I've ever lost a bookmark before.
You haven't?
No, I don't
Yeah.
know. I am I have a big bookmark collection. So I don't know. Like, do you use a bookmark, or do you use one of those people that just kind of grabs a scrap of paper or a napkin?
It just depends. I have this alien ID, like a joke
okay.
ID. Sometimes I use that. Sometimes my dad has an old bookmark that's crocheted that he used to use.
Oh, wow.
And I'll
Okay.
use that. Like when I read Stephen King, I like to use his bookmark because it was kind of
yep.
his. Yeah. If I
Gotcha.
read anything else, then it's usually the alien ID for now.
Okay. So I have different bookmarks, you guys. I have like winter bookmarks, fall bookmarks, Halloween bookmarks. I
Yeah,
have this is one of my favorites right here. This is the Creature from the Black Lagoon.
classic.
So honestly, I will use a bookmark per season and the type of book I'm reading. If I'm reading a horror book, then I will use my more horror type bookmarks.
That's crazy. I love it, but it's not. That's crazy.
It's crazy. No,
Yeah,
I agree.
it's
It's
cool.
crazy.
Yeah,
Um,
it's cool.
I kind of match it to whatever I'm reading. Okay, if it's
Yeah,
romance, I have romance bookmarks.
yeah,
Like, I don't know. Maybe I'll take a picture and put it on my Instagram and show you guys. I have a bunch of bookmarks. But yeah, so but I've never lost one, and I don't think I've ever switched um halfway through. So I don't think I've ever done that. But I do pick my bookmark to the genre I'm reading. Okay.
yeah.
Um Number 4, where do you keep the book you're currently reading?
Usually in the car
Mhm.
because I take it to work, and so if I take it out of the car, I'll won't. Sometimes I'll forget it. So usually the
Okay.
car or in the backpack. The work backpack. So
Okay. So mine's also in the car if I take it to work, if I have a long lunch, or it's on my nightstand beside my bed.
oh,
Because
nice.
I like to read, read at night, whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, so okay, number 5. What time of day do you do the most reading?
Oh, well, I haven't been physically reading a ton lately.
Yeah.
So commute. So night and day.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
on
that
the way
that
to work,
works.
on the way home from work, I
That
listen.
works. Mhm.
Um, at work, I listen. So
So during the
during the
day?
day, I would say, yeah.
So I also read like during my lunch. I only get lunch break is when I get to read, and then I like to read at night.
Okay.
So I because I do a lot of my writing during the day, and the evenings I reserve for in the evening. So I'm a nighttime reader.
Yeah.
Okay, number 6. How long do you typically read in one go?
Oh God. Depends. If you catch me on something like The Dark Tower, I
Hmm.
might just lose a day and just
Oh,
like
really? Yeah.
I'll just literally not do anything but that, you know, like
So
16 hours.
if you're really engrossed in it, you'll spend a whole day if you can
Oh
to read
yeah,
it.
I'll binge the shit out of it. The
Yeah.
last one was Joe Abercrombie's The Last Argument of Kings. I think I read it. It took me 2 days, and that's all I did on a
Yeah.
weekend. Yeah.
Okay. Um, I I guess it just depends. I've read a book in a whole day, like, I've read, like, the Harry Potter book 7, I read that in a single day,
Yeah.
but I was, like, literally from early, early morning till almost midnight, I read all day, or I'll try to do, like, either 50 pages or 100 pages. So,
Okay.
really, it just kind of varies, and I'll look at it, like, if it's a 400-page book, I try to do, like, 50 pages or 100. Same thing
Yeah.
if it's 300, then I know, like, if I do 100 a day, I can finish this book in 3 days.
Yeah. No, that's cool. That's a good way to do it.
Yeah.
If I'm in a reading slump or something,
Uh-huh.
like, you get in those points where you're just kind of struggling to read a little bit. And
Yep.
I'll just do a chapter a day, and
Nice.
that helps me usually get back into the flow, and then it'll go longer.
Yeah. All right. Okay. At number 7, do you read hardcovers with the dust jacket on or off?
I've done both, but probably off.
Yeah, off.
Yeah,
100% off. No,
I've
that
done
thing
both.
bugs me. Oh,
Yeah,
really?
I have in the past. Yeah, I got this really nice Dark Tower set of hardcovers, and I think I
And you
read
read
it.
it with the jacket on?
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
I eventually took them off. I'm like, screw this. So
Yeah, usually the first thing I do is tear it off and toss it to the side.
okay, nice.
Yeah, I can't hold it because I'm usually laying down and trying to hold it. It's
Yeah,
sliding and it's kind of a pain in the butt. So yeah, I take it off
yeah,
completely. Take
fair
it
enough.
off. And number 8, which position do you use to read?
Usually I like to on the couch with my feet over one of the arms,
Okay.
legs
Hmm.
elevated,
Yep.
big pillow behind the neck.
Yeah.
There you go.
I'm usually laying in my bed or sitting up in my bed. My bed is typically where I go to read, just because if I try to go out onto the couch, like the kids are loud, they're
Yeah,
screaming, and I can't focus. But yeah,
fair
so
enough.
that's typically my room. Number 9, do you take the book you're currently reading everywhere you go?
Yes,
Hmm.
that's a constant companion. Yeah,
Same, same. I
yeah.
had a doctor's appointment today and I took my book with me.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I don't take it probably grocery shopping or if I'm doing a quick run to like Target or Walmart. That I don't. But if I have a doctor's appointment, if the kids have a doctor's appointment, yeah. And let's see. Number 10, how often do you update your progress on Goodreads?
Never.
You don't use Goodreads?
I have an account and I've been
Yeah.
on it, but I haven't really used it to be fair.
Okay, yeah. I will update it every time I finish a book. Yeah, and
Oh,
I every
wow.
time I start a book, I'll put on there like currently reading, and then I finish it, and then I give a review if it's good. So here's a little thing: if I didn't like the book, I won't rate it and I won't give it a review.
Oh, okay. Nice.
Just because I don't like, I just feel like it's no there's no need for me to leave a bad review, you know?
Yeah,
It's like, if I didn't like it, I didn't like it. I don't need the whole, like, internet to know if I didn't like a book.
fair enough.
So, sometimes I won't ra if it's really bad, I won't give it a rating. I just, which is but I will say it's only happened to me, like, a couple times, literally,
Yeah,
because most books I just love. I pretty much love them when I read them.
yeah.
But yeah, so I update pretty regularly.
I use
Um
Goodreads for reviews of books.
oh, okay, like, if you're thinking about maybe getting a book and
Yeah,
then you
that's
okay.
how I use Goodreads, yeah.
Yeah. Are you influenced though by other people's reviews?
No, but I'd like to get a general idea
Okay.
of, of how a bunch of different people feel about the book, but it doesn't really swing.
Okay.
I guess technically, I guess it does. If there's a ton of negative, then maybe
Yeah.
I'll move it down my TBR, but I won't completely take it off.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Yeah.
Like,
I usually don't read the reviews.
oh, okay.
I had a friend that hated this one book by oh my god, I can't remember his name. He writes the Artemis Fowl books. Oh my god, I'm blanking on his
Oh,
name.
yes.
Ewan Colfer, Ewan, no. Oh my god, I can't remember his name, you guys. It's terrible. But he writes the Artemis Fowl books. But he wrote this book called I think it's called High Fire, and it was about I think it was about a crocodile or an alligator that was like that could talk, and like he like drank vodka, listened to rock music, lived out in the bayou, and he was kind of an asshole. And I
Yeah,
remember like someone gave a bad review, but like everything that they hated, I loved, and I read it, and I freaking love that book. It's
yeah,
so good. It's so funny. It's completely unexpected, but I loved it. But yeah, so sometimes someone really gives a bad review, depending on what it is they don't like, I'll be like, I don't know, that sounds like something I might like, and I'll pick it up and read it.
fair enough. Yeah, that's good
um,
though.
yeah, and I'm so glad I did because that book was really good.
Yeah,
Okay, our last question says to tag a friend. So we are gonna tag. So Lydia36 writes tagged us. Thank you, Lydia, for tagging us, and thank you for your kind words that you left for us about our podcast. We really appreciate the plug. I appreciate you. So we are gonna tag Teresa Love, and she is a reader and she gives book reviews. She mostly talks about reading,
yeah,
but take a look and listen to her. She's really sweet. She's a really sweet lady. But anyway, Teresa, we're tagging you, and I can't wait to see your answers. I know they're going to be great. So I'm tagging Teresa Love on YouTube, and Kristyn Passioni is a writer who does writing sprints sometimes on her YouTube channel. And you give them both a follow. They're really
heck yeah,
okay. Well, thank you, Lydia, for tagging us. That was fun. So if you have a YouTube channel, feel free to tag us on anything reading or writing. We'll
yeah,
be
for
more
sure.
than happy to participate because that was fun. And I learned a little bit about Ken.
Yeah,
We're going to go into Stephen King's On Writing. If you haven't picked up this book or you don't know, it's actually it's kind of split into two sections. The first book is a bit of a memoir on Stephen King, his like upbringing, his just who
childhood.
his childhood, yeah.
Yeah.
And then the second part of the book is actually on writing. Um, so there was a few things I wanted to bring up
Right.
that I thought were interesting. I highlighted some things that I kind of wanted to just kind of pick your brain or just kind of talk about that I thought were interesting. One of the things that this is like early on in the chapter on writing, I highlighted. He said he said I'm approaching the heart of this book with two theses, both simple. The first is that good writing consists of mastering the fundamentals like vocabulary, grammar, the elements of style, and then filling the third level of your toolbox with the right instruments. The second is that while it is impossible to make a competent writer out of a bad writer, and while it is equally impossible to make a great writer out of a good one, it is possible with lots of hard work, dedication, and timely help to make a good writer out of a merely competent one.
Yeah.
So I thought that was interesting because I went back and I listened to Brandon Sanderson's teaching on YouTube. I don't know if you guys haven't, you guys, I'm sure you probably know, but Brandon Sanderson has a lot of classes on YouTube that he posted during 2020, I believe, right?
Yeah.
And
Yep.
he talks about how you can't really teach a person how to write. Which I kind of felt like Stephen King's sort of saying the same thing.
Hmm.
But I wanted to know your thoughts on that.
Um, that you can't really teach somebody to write. Yeah. I don't think you can.
Yeah.
You have to learn through bathing in the fire, basically. You
Yeah.
know, like
by doing.
by doing. Yeah, the most brilliant writer can't just like explain it to you. There's feeling to it. There's like waves and flows and motions and rejection, and there's
Rejection,
certain
yes.
ways that you really just have to get your feet wet, basically, to learn how to write. So I think he's right. Yeah,
Yeah, I
careful.
agree. I think yeah, they're both right because if you're not writing or does focus a lot on reading, which I thought was pretty interesting because I know people who I don't know if you ever ran into this. I don't know if you ever ran into this, Ken, but I've met people who want to read, but they don't read.
Yeah,
Always, I'm always just like perplexed by that. Um,
yeah,
because Stephen King does talk about how you really need to read in order to be a writer. So I'm always just
I
blown
agree.
away. Right, because it's kind of like what we talked about in the past, and you brought up a great point. We've talked about this before, how you said that you kind of learn writing through reading, like through osmosis, right?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely,
So
100%. I forget who it was. What was his name? Oh, I can't remember his name right now. Worked all day. I'm
not us
sick.
both
My
blanking on
brain ain't
names.
working.
I
I know
know.
my brain ain't working. Um, Neil
We're
Gaiman.
old
Neil
guys.
Gaiman said,
Okay, there you
yeah,
go.
there it
Yeah.
is. Neil Gaiman. He said that, yeah, like learning how to be a great writer, he did it through reading books. The same exact thing.
Yes.
He's almost like he absorbed it. He says, by that through the act of reading. So how you could
Yeah. So
become a writer without doing that, I have
I'm
no
always
idea.
amazed by those people, and I just kind of wonder, how do you want to write a book but you don't read? And then I've told a person, I've had a conversation with a person, and I was like, "Well, do you read? Like, what are you reading?" And they're like, "Oh no, I don't want to read, but I know how to write a book." And I'm like,
Yeah.
"Okay."
Maybe there's some savants out there that can pull that off. Maybe.
Well, you know what? That's what Stephen King said that, I think I highlighted that too, where he talks about how there's like these different levels of writers, and at the
Yeah.
very top was like the Keatses or, if
Yeah.
you're one of those, the Shakespeare's and all of that,
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm definitely not one of those. This is what Stephen King says on the first chapter about writing. He says, if you want to be a writer, you must do two things above all others: read a lot and write a lot. And he says there's no way around these two things that he's aware of. There's no shortcut. Oh, this is one thing that I thought was interesting. Um, he says, Still, I believe the first draft of a book, even a long one, should take no more than 3 months, the length of a season.
Hmm.
I was blown away by that.
Yeah,
I'm like, Mr. King, I don't know. That I don't know. The fastest I did was my last book. I told you I wrote in 5 months.
yeah,
I don't know. I mean, I kind of feel like I have a goal for myself. I'm
yeah,
like, can I do it in 3 months? I was talking to my husband tonight. I'm like, I want to shoot for 3 months. I really want to try that.
yeah.
See if I could
It's
do it.
doable.
It's doable, I know, but, like, also he talks about his schedule. Like, I
Yeah,
mean, obviously Stephen King, when he wrote this, he was not working, he did not have a full-time job.
yeah,
So his schedule, which I thought was hilarious, I mean, just I thought it was great. I mean, he, like, takes a nap and, like, at the end of the night, he, like, watches, I think basketball? Is he a
yeah.
big basketball?
Baseball,
Is it
Red
baseball?
Sox.
Okay,
Yeah,
sorry, baseball, yeah. Okay, so here's why he says this. And I kind of want to talk to you about this. He says the reason why he says to take the no longer than 3 months. He says any longer, and for him, he's saying at least the story begins to take on an odd foreign feel, like a dispatch from the Romanian Department of Public Affairs or something, a broadcast on high band shortwave during a period of severe sunspot activity.
yeah,
So that's funny. I wanted to tell you because it took me 5 months to write my last book, but I took 2 months off,
yeah,
right? But I still count those months because there may have been a day here and there where I wrote
yeah,
like a paragraph, maybe,
yeah,
just because it was during the holiday season. So I don't want to say like I didn't write for 2 months because that wouldn't be fair because I know there were some days. But and I know that I don't know, have you ever taken a break from your book, from any of your books that you've written? And
not
did you feel like this, like you kind of got a little distant from your characters?
not during, so no.
Yeah.
In between, yes. Like, I'll
Okay.
finish a book and wrap it up, and then the well's kinda a little dry, and I'll take, a few weeks to
I'm so glad you said that because let me just
yeah,
tell you, I am in a freaking dry well right now. I know
yeah,
I talked a big game last week that I started a new book. I did not do anything this week. I didn't.
yeah,
I threw that away. I threw it away because I did not like it the way it was going. And I gotta tell you that I am struggling this week. I
yeah,
literally cannot. I've not written a damn thing
yeah,
for I don't know. What has it been a week? Has it been a week and a half maybe?
yeah.
And starting to question myself here.
I haven't written either that
But
much.
you've been sick and you started a new job.
Yeah, I did. I've been dog sick, like, sleep all day type of deal, you
Yeah.
know?
So
Um,
that I get. Like when I was sick, I wasn't writing either. I was like,
oh, I
I
can't.
was, yeah, I was laying in bed, like, don't talk to me.
Yeah. But, like, I don't know, yeah, I think I was able to sneak in, like, 500 words
Oh
today
my
on my
God.
lunch break. But I write really fast. I write like 1,500 words an hour. So
Yeah.
you give me 20 minutes and I'm gonna put 500 on paper,
Oh
or
my
on the
God. That's
page.
wild.
Yeah.
I'm so happy for you. I'm just kidding.
I know.
No, I don't know. I've been struggling. We could probably talk about that later, but I'm telling you, I am struggling with this new idea that we had. Well, you know which one I'm writing about. I
Yeah.
kind of just scrapped it, and I'm trying to I don't know, redo something. I don't know,
Reimagine
just
it. Yeah.
something. I don't know. So I
Well,
had a full chapter, and I got rid of it.
what about the text we sent each other last week? I sent you, I'm like, I've been staring at the page for two
Oh
hours and I
yes.
got 100 words and I hate them all.
So I did not realize then that I was gonna hate it, but right after that, yeah, I threw it away.
Yeah. Oh, damn.
I've been struggling. It's hard. It's fine. Whatever. It's the whole process to becoming a writer, right? I guess.
Yeah.
Because I'm just trying to think of like, is my idea good? I just feel like no one's gonna want to read this. I don't know. I just was like, who's gonna want to read this? I don't know. So
Everybody? Sounds
what?
cool.
I know. I mean, I don't know. I have some other. I don't know. I'm struggling with it, but
Yeah.
okay. So I will say that I've never really had a distance from my characters. My previous book, it took me I think it was almost a year. Took me that. But I was grieving. I had lost a family member, so I was kind of
Yeah,
grieving and kind of going through some stuff. But I will say that the characters were always there for me.
yeah,
I never really felt like they faded or anything. For me, it was like they kept pestering.
yeah,
I don't know if that makes sense. Like they kept bugging me to like write their story. I know
yeah,
that sounds really odd, and I'm not one of those people that's like, my characters talk to me, they tell me what they
yeah,
want to do. I'm not one of those writers, but it was like that story was just sort of pressing and pushing on me to finish it.
yeah.
So I have a distance, like he's saying here, but I was just curious if that had ever happened to you. So it sounds like maybe not so much.
Not really, not that I
Yeah.
can think of. I mean, I guess, I don't know if you remember, I don't wanna say anything, but the drunken dad, floating stuff?
Oh, uh-huh. Yep.
Yeah, I guess kinda that because I wrote it to, like, 20K and then
Oh, you
stopped.
did?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Really?
Oh
Oh,
yeah.
I didn't know you put that much in it.
Yeah, and then I
Oh,
stopped,
okay.
so I guess technically the voice went away.
Oh,
Uh,
okay. Hmm.
like, I don't know where to even begin or even if I want to,
It's just
so
kind of
maybe that.
fizzled out. Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
But it wasn't like a break in between. It was just kind of like maybe I've done that before with the story where I got a good portion and I'm like, this isn't what I want to write.
yeah. No, I just think I had a better idea come along, and I'm like, "I wanna do that." you know?
Yeah, that happened to me too. I had a better idea
Yeah,
and I was like, okay, bye.
yeah. Yeah, and it was also in a genre that I wanted to write in too, the other
Same.
one.
Okay. That's when I
Yeah,
started my fantasy
yeah.
story. I was writing something else and I was like, I'm not feeling this anymore. I just wasn't feeling it. But
Yeah, I
um
think it's when I went from that to the Laughing Palace, which was a fantasy.
oh really? Okay, yeah. Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
So mine that happened to me. That's so funny. How funny.
yeah,
Yeah, I was starting off. I really like that story, and sometimes I want to go back and do it, but I'm like, it's still not. I don't know. I think maybe that was just a story that was kind of introducing me into writing
yeah,
until I realized, like, oh wait, no, I want to write in this genre instead. So, but Stephen King says, write what you like, then imbue it with life and make it unique by blending in your own personal knowledge of life, friendship, relationships, sex, and work. So basically, what Stephen King is saying here is he's kind of like saying like how to get an idea. So this
yeah,
is what he says. Especially work. People love to read about work. God knows why, but they do. If you're a plumber who enjoys science fiction, you might well consider a novel about a plumber aboard a starship or on an alien planet.
yeah,
Sound ludicrous? The late Clifford D. Simak, sorry, wrote a novel called Cosmic Engineers, which is close to just that, and it's a terrific read. What you need to remember is that there's a difference between lecturing about what you know and using it to enrich the story. The latter is good. The former is not.
no,
I will say that when I read that, I really needed to hear that because of what I've been going through. Like I was telling you, how I've been really struggling with the story,
yeah,
trying to make it work, just trying to think like, I was trying to mash two different things together, but I'm still not sure if it's interesting enough. But when he said, write what you like and then,
yeah,
imbue it with life, I just thought, you know what, maybe that's what I need to do is just give it I think my characters were falling too flat. And then the whole idea of a space engineers, I mean, who would have thought?
yeah,
But I mean, my story's not that, guys, but I'm just saying, like, it's just interesting when you can take these two different things that you don't think go together.
yeah,
But as long as you just give it that life and make those characters likable, you have a great story.
yeah,
Um,
100%.
Yeah, I gotta say that I really needed that this week, although I still haven't quite figured it out. But it helped me to realize that I think that the characters were a little flat and that
Hmm.
I kind of really need to flesh them out. And or maybe I need to mash it with something else, with another love genre that I like, that I
Yeah,
enjoy, whatever.
for sure.
So I was trying to think of where I work.
Yeah,
And I'm like, okay, a retail girl.
yeah,
Then I was like, I don't know, what can I do? What can I make her, like, send her out doing something crazy and odd? I don't know, hunting vampires.
yeah. That's possible.
I don't know, but I was just like thinking that's so funny. Do you like stories about people's work and like putting that, like, I don't know. He says people like it, stories about work.
When people are passionate about something,
Yeah,
I love that.
agree.
Um, like there was this. I think I've talked about this before, but there was a whole scene in a fantasy book, and I don't remember because I'm old, guys. And um, the whole scene was about a dude making a barrel, and I don't give a crap about barrels.
Right.
They're cool, but
Yeah.
his mastery, his craftsmanship, his skill, like all of it, like was brilliant on the page because you're seeing like all how he's bending the wood and forming the rings, and so it's awesome to see people do shit well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
If they're
I think
passionate
that's
about
it.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah, because they make it interesting,
yeah,
right? So instead
exactly.
of, like, lecturing you,
Yeah,
you feel their passion for what they're
you feel
doing,
that they love it. Yeah,
yeah, and so then you're like, "Okay, yeah, that's cool, I'm intrigued,
A-
that's"
and they're competent at it too, which is another,
yeah,
added.
like, I probably wouldn't care much about a welder, but, if they make some really cool things about it and they love if they make, however way they wanna, I feel like it could be an a form of, like, artistic,
Yeah,
artistry, if I
yeah.
could talk.
Or if he's like
Um,
the best damn welder and he's welding like shit that's unweldable and like saving
that's
some
true.
shit, you're like, holy shit, he's
You're
so
like,
good.
"Wow, that's so cool."
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I guess Stephen King's right. I'd probably I probably would pick up a book like that.
yeah, exactly.
I don't know, maybe he hunts vampires, but during his day job, he makes
That's
welding.
fucking awesome.
Maybe he comes up with a really cool way to kill a vampire, welds this really cool contraption or something, I don't know.
Yeah. Walk around with tanks on his legs and like blow torches and crosses them or whatever.
Hey, 100%. I would
Be
probably
cool as fuck.
definitely read that. Yeah, I would be down for that, honestly.
Hell yeah.
Write that down, Ken.
There you go.
Okay. Actually, he talks about plotting. So Stephen King talks about plotting in this book, and I'm going to read what he says, and then we can talk about it.
All right.
So he says, okay, so you may wonder where a plot is in all of this. My answer anyway is nowhere. I won't try to convince you that I've never plotted any more than I try to convince you that I've never told a lie. But I do both as infrequently as possible. I distrust plot for two reasons. First, because our lives are largely plotless, even when you add in all our reasonable precautions and careful planning. And second, because I believe plotting and the spontaneity of real creation aren't compatible. It's best that I be as clear about this as I can. I want you to understand that my basic belief about the making of stories is that they pretty much make themselves. The job of the writer is to give them a place to grow and to transcribe them, of course. If you can see things this way, or at least try to, we can work together comfortably. If, on the other hand, you decide I'm crazy, that's fine. You won't be the first. Um, so, when during the course of an interview for the New Yorker, he says, I told the interviewer, Mark Singer, that I believed stories are found things like fossils in the ground. He said that he didn't believe me. I replied, well, that was fine as long as he believed that I believe it. And I do. So I love that he said that stories are like fossils in the ground. And he kind of goes on after this about how you're sort of like, or he'll get like an idea and he'll start, once he starts writing it, it's kind of like slowly discovering a fossil, like you're kind of brushing off the dirt around it, and little by little it's revealing itself to you.
Yeah.
I thought that was really cool because I know that I've said on here that I plot out the beat. I'm not a big plotter, but I will plot out the beats
Yeah.
just so that I know from what I need to go from point A to point B to point C. But everything in between comes on like almost as intuition, like intuition,
Yeah.
if if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I will say that the problem that I was having with this current book is I was trying to plan out too much,
Mm.
where I think I just needed to just start writing and let the story uncover itself. Let me discover
Yeah.
what the story is. Which I feel like I feel like that's you. That's like what you do.
Oh, 100% exactly what I do.
Yeah, because I'm like, you're not a plotter. And
No,
you've made that very clear. You're not a plotter.
not at all.
But I really I thought that was so great. I love that.
Yeah.
Um, and it really has made me sort of rethink. I mean, plotting. I don't know. I mean, I could still kind of plot. I need to plot some things, but I think I'm going to be more open to what the story is, what I'm going to discover as I write.
Yeah. I think that's the best way to go about it, you know? I mean, I guess there's some people that can pull it off, that can plot out every meticulous detail, and that works for them. That's how their brain
Hmm.
works, but
Right.
I couldn't do that. If I plotted it, I'd be done. I would never write a single word if I plotted it because I had already done it. I know how
That's
it ends.
exactly what Brandon Sanderson said in his
Yeah.
class. He was like, he doesn't do big plots because in his mind, he's like, You've already written it."
Yeah.
Um, and I feel like, I mean, I don't know, like I'm gonna try to maybe plot so much on this book and just kind of let it just kind of happen
Yeah, why not?
organically
Why not?
and see what happens.
It's awesome. It's
Because like
exciting.
yeah, because Stephen King, and I'm kind of like what you say, you get this idea, like Stephen King's like, yeah, I get this idea, a thought will enter his head, like a what if, whatever, right?
Yeah.
And he doesn't worry about all the details, even the theme, because like every story has to have a theme, guys. If you're
Yeah.
listening to this, you have to have a theme in your story. Don't think for 1 minute that you can get away without a theme. He is very clear about this, and I know other agents. If an agent or an editor asks you what's the theme, the lesson of your book, and if you can't answer it or you don't have one, that's bad.
Yeah.
And Stephen King, so what Stephen King does, he agrees that you have to have a theme, right? But what he said is don't worry about the theme when you're writing, because when you go back, like after you finish the book, he
Yeah.
says to put the book away. I think he says 6 weeks. I think it was six
Yeah.
weeks that he says,
I
kind of
remember something
put
like
that
that.
book away. Don't think about it. Don't look at it. Don't try to edit it. I don't know about that because for us, 6 weeks that would take too long, especially because we know how publishing today is just fucking forever. But anyway,
Yeah.
I think it's good sometimes to kind of take a break. But what he said is that then when you go back, and you just read it, he says, look for the areas. He says, you're going to have a theme. You're going to naturally have a theme. Maybe you don't know what it is, but going back through the edits, it'll come to you, it'll pop out to you. And once you get it, then you can go back and then make it a little bit more clear
Yeah.
in the certain chapters or scenes or whatever, which I thought was interesting because I think I was stressing too much about figuring out my theme and it kept changing. I was like, no, that's not it. Maybe it's this. And I just need to just let
Just
it.
don't give a shit.
Yeah, like kind of, because he's like, I mean, he's saying like, there's gonna be a theme. You're gonna have it,
Yeah.
even if
Yeah.
you don't know what it is.
There will be one. Yeah.
You got to go when you go back to the edits. That's when you start to look for, or when you're reading, you start to look for that, and then you want, if it's not obvious, then you need to go back and kind of make it a little bit obvious in certain
Yeah.
scenes.
Yeah.
So, which I thought was interesting. And I will say that I think I was just getting so hung up. I swear this book just I happened to this we happened to do this at the perfect time for me
Yeah.
because I was way overthinking this shit.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know.
I
I don't,
I was too. That's why I sent that text partially,
yeah,
because I'm just trying to overthink it. Like I'm like, I got to make this
because
perfect.
and I know it's because we want to be public. We want to get agented, right?
Yeah.
Like, I was talking to my husband today, and he was like, "It's like we're putting all this pressure on
Yeah.
ourselves, right?" But he was like, "But when you put pressure like that, it's like you're kind of shutting this lid on your creativity. Your creativity is
100%.
not going to be able to come out because you're like stressing about all this stuff." And I kinda had, like, an eye opener today, and with this book and just being able to talk about it was just like, "Man, I need to
Yeah.
just write and then see what happens,
My
see
favorite
where it
shit is
goes."
the fuck it. Nobody's ever going to read it.
Yeah.
I don't
Which
give a
that's
shit.
when you sent that text, I was cracking up. I'm like, "It's true.
Yeah.
No one's gonna read, not even I'm gonna read it."
Yeah.
Literally, like, by the time you send it to me, you probably have changed it,
Yeah.
who knows how many times.
Exactly. So fuck it. Just put it on paper. That helped me. And I was actually starting to get up to speed again, where I could whip out 1,500 a day. Then I got
Yeah.
sick, and it
Oh.
shut me down. And I was gonna write. Remember, I was gonna write that short story.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it turned into a book. It's a book.
Okay. Well, that's not a bad thing.
No, it was. I'm a short story surprise book, and I'm like shit. So yeah,
I
a
love how you do
surprise
that all
book.
the time. You always do a short story, then it turns into a full ass novel. I'm like, yes.
Yeah, it just did. I like it started, and I'm like, yeah, cool, cool. Oh shit, it's a book. And so and then I got sick, but
Yeah.
basically that'll be my next project, so I'm gonna go. I guess
But
I'll
would
finish the one
but
I'm working on.
would you say that it came about that way, like sort of just like how Stephen King is saying, you kind of discovered the fossil and you kind of were working around it, and the next thing you know, then you were able to
Yeah.
see what it was, and you're like,
Y
oh, this is a novel.
yeah,
This isn't a
I
short
was getting it
story at
ready.
all.
I was getting it set up for a short story,
Yeah.
and I had a certain entry point that I wanted to, and by, like, 2,000 words, I haven't even got to the entry point. I'm like, "God damn it, it's a novel." So, yeah,
Well, I mean, I can't even write short stories, so hats off to you,
yeah.
honestly.
So, anyway, I
So
got a new novel idea, I guess.
great, that's awesome.
Surprise,
I love
yeah.
it. Yay! Hip hip hooray! I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
And I just kind of wanted to read a little bit what what we're kind of talking about, as he says, I lean more heavily on intuition and have been able to do that because my books tend to be based on situation rather than story. Some of the ideas which have produced those books are more complex than others, but the majority start out with the stark simplicity of a department store window display or a waxwork tableau.
yeah, Tableau.
Um, I want to put a group of characters, perhaps a pair, perhaps even just one, in some sort of predicament, and then watch them try to work themselves free. My job isn't to help them work their way free or manipulate them to safety. Those are jobs which require the noisy jackhammer of plot, but to watch what happens and then write it down. I love that. I
Yeah,
freaking love that because again, I think it's like I mean, if you're watching as a writer today and you're trying to become a debut author like Ken and I, you're probably watching a bunch of YouTube videos, you're listening to writing podcasts, you're doing all the things about today's publishing, or you're learning all the things about today's publishing, and you can get kind of hung up. Well, I do. Maybe not everybody. Maybe not you can, but I you can get kind of hung up on all the information that's out there. You got to get that inciting incident by the end of chapter one. You have to start in an action scene. You have to have that deep point of view. And so for me, I get so stuck in
yeah,
that and trying to remember all those things while also trying to write a story with plot and character and interiority and a plot and all of that.
yeah,
um where I think I just need to lean more on my intuition, and like he said, sort of like watching these characters do what they do
yeah,
and writing it down. What is it that they're doing? And then writing it. instead of trying to figure out how, just sort of write what you see in your mind, I guess, in
Yeah,
your
and yeah, you can only absorb so much from outside
right,
sources before it doesn't matter. You could have Brandon Sanderson sitting on one shoulder and Stephen King here, and
right.
they're telling you different shit, and you're like, blah blah. It'll just lock your brain up. Some of that stuff will seep through, and it'll get into your actual writing. But you just
Mhm.
need to shut everybody out, do a circle, flipping everybody off, shut the f up, and just fucking put it on paper. You know?
I am learning so much from this, I will tell you, because I am a very structured person, like, I have to
Yeah,
have structure in my life.
yeah,
I mean, I know maybe it has more to do with control.
yeah.
I'm not gonna deny that, I know it can be, like, a bit of controlling, but I I feel like I have a little bit of, like, self-awareness where I'm starting to realize that sometimes trying to control things, I'm staunching my
Yeah.
creativity. I'm just literally doing an
Yeah, it's like a
injustice.
pipeline and you're just choking it out and it's
Exactly.
yeah,
Yeah, and I'm not letting that creation, that creativity to just flow because
yeah,
I'm trying to control everything.
yeah.
I hate that about myself, but
It is what it is.
but I'm open to, obviously, I mean, I think because I wanna be a traditionally published writer so bad that I just really want to be open to, what I mean, clearly I'm struggling, like, I'm clearly struggling this week, I'm having a hard time, and I
Yeah,
finally had my realization today that I was just like, "Just write it out and see what happens. Don't
yeah.
worry about all of these, like, things." I have to trust myself enough that I know that I will have those things, but I
Like,
don't need.
almost like thinking about it ruins it. Like,
Right.
it's almost like I'm gonna screw this up. Sorry, science guys, but like quarks and stuff. Like, if scientists look at it, they can't measure it. So the
Oh,
act of measuring it changes it. So there's
really?
literally no way. Yeah, it's almost like that where you try to put all this stuff on it that it just changes it and ruins it.
Interesting,
You know,
okay.
you try to put in, I got to get the inciting incident here. I have to get the plot point here. This character's got to feel this here. You know,
Yeah,
like
because 'cause
I
I'm
think it just
constantly
changes it horribly.
yeah, because 'cause I'm constantly thinking about all the things that I have to have and all the things that I should have, and, especially
Same,
this
same for
week.
me. Same for
Yeah.
me too. Like when I'm trying, I'm like, this has got to be good. I got to get this really cool. This line's got to be, and then I'm like, holy shit, I got 100 words. I hate all of them. I
Yeah.
quit. You know, or whatever.
Yeah, and then, of course, I'm also trying to add those really cool, like, adjectives, and I'm really
Yeah,
trying to add those, like, metaphors and similes that sort of match the tone of the book, and I'm trying to get the tone, and I think I
yeah.
just need to stop overthinking.
I
I
think you've
had
absorbed that stuff through like, you've read and watched enough movies and read enough and listened to enough shit that some of that shit's gotta have been in here. It's in your brain.
it'll get there, that
You'll
it'll
do it
just
without
get
having
there.
to think about it.
Right, yeah, exactly. I had when I was in middle school, I had this PE teacher, she was teaching us basketball, we are playing basketball, and I was doing really well, and then I decided to overthink, a move, and
Yeah.
of course I fucked it up, and she was like, "Grace, that was the shittiest move you've done all day, you were doing so good. What happened?" And I was like, "I thought about what I needed to do,
Exactly. You
and
gotta
I
act
fucked
on
it up."
instinct.
And the whole time before, and it's funny because while I was reading this, I remember that. I mean, that was like when I was in 8th grade. I mean, clearly I've been out of
Yeah.
school for a very long time. So I remembered that, and I remember hearing her, and I remember thinking like I was doing so much better when I wasn't thinking about how to play, when I was just feeling it and just playing along with my
Yeah.
other teammates.
Exactly. And, like, I don't know if this pertains, but, like, when I was in high school, I got told that, I scored, like, in the top 1% in the nation on a bunch of testing
Oh,
and stuff,
cool. Right on.
and that made me smoke a bunch of weed and listen to the Grateful
Oh,
Dead and stop going to school.
oh, why?
So I wish they didn't tell me that. I don't know, it, like, ruined it, you
Really?
know? Yeah.
Oh, that's a
By
bummer.
telling me I was brilliant,
Well,
I
maybe
just
because you never really
fucked
had
off.
those, you never had compliments like that before, you didn't know what to do, it was like, "Ah."
Maybe, I don't know.
Because I didn't my parents I grew up that way too. People compliment me, I get so awkward, I'm just like, okay." I
Yeah.
never like
But I just think putting that
yeah,
label just ruined it for,
yeah.
yeah.
Wow, that's
And I went
interesting,
the
yeah.
opposite and had dreadlocks and I did all that stuff. I was a stupid kid in the
Oh my
'90s.
god, okay, I really wanna see you with dreadlocks.
Yeah.
If you got a picture of that posted, because that's
I
hilarious.
drove I drove a '72 Volkswagen bus, like, I did the
Did
whole
you?
thing. I did, and it was tie-dye with dancing bears painted on it.
Oh, that sounds fun.
Yeah. But I don't know if it's the same kind of idea where, by somebody telling me, "Oh, you're brilliant," then I'm just like, "Fuck that." Like, pressing on your work like that and trying and your work's like, "I'm out," "Fuck you."
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I mean,
I
maybe,
don't know.
yeah, I don't know, just, it's weird how things like that happen to us growing up, those little things, but
Yeah.
and you remember them. But, yeah, I definitely remembered, my teacher yelling at me for that, and I kind of figure that's what I'm doing now, and which is why I've been stuck.
Overthinking it.
Yeah, I kind of been stuck this past, week and a half, so, but yeah,
Yeah.
okay, so here is something I know this is kinda long, so we might have to I don't know, this might have to be a two-parter, but
That's okay.
we're only here on the book. We still have, this. I made a bunch of notes through here, but,
Oh,
um,
nice.
one thing that he, talks about here is, eh, if you're stuck on coming up with a story idea, this is what he says. Um, a strong enough situation renders the whole question of plot moot, which is fine with me. The most interesting situations can usually be expressed as a what if question. What if vampires invaded a small New England village, Salem's
Yeah.
Lot? What if a policeman in a remote Nevada town went berserk and started killing everyone in sight? Desperation.
Desperation.
Mhm. What if a cleaning woman suspected of a murder she got away with, her husband, fell under suspicion for a murder she did not commit, her
Good old
employer,
Dolores.
Dolores Claiborne.
Yeah.
Love that. I watched the movie, I didn't read the book, sorry. Eek.
Okay. Yeah, you'll be
Um,
alright. Kathy Bates
yeah.
is brilliant.
Yes, love her.
Yeah.
What if a young mother and her son became trapped in their stalled car by a rabid dog, Cujo? I remember watching that as a kid and
Yeah.
just thought it was the coolest and scariest thing ever. But yeah.
Yeah.
So, these he's saying basically what he's saying was these were all situations which occurred to him while he was showering, while he was driving, while taking my daily walk. He's a big walker.
Yeah.
I'm not a big walker, but I don't like to go outside. But but which he eventually turned to books, and he says, please remember, however, that there is a huge difference between story and plot. Story is honorable and trustworthy. Plot is shifty and best kept under house arrest. So again, I think he's just saying like just sort of like get your idea and then just start writing and then like discovering the fossil, let the story sort of just uncover itself to you
Yeah.
as you write,
For
which
sure.
I just loved that analogy. I thought it was so great.
Yeah.
Um and then Ken, I want to do this exercise.
Okay.
I don't know if we could turn it into stephenking.com. It's an exercise. And if you're listening and you have the book, he has an exercise in here, a writing exercise. And he says, well, back then he said we could submit this story on stephenking.com. I don't know if that's still a thing. I didn't go on stephenking.com to check it out,
Yeah.
but I just thought it would be kind of fun if maybe you and I wrote something and then we can read it on here, or if
Yeah.
we I don't know, we could talk about it. But
That'd
I
be
just thought it
cool.
was interesting that he gives this exercise and he tells you what he wants you to write, and then it kind of gives you like what's a typical story of a man abusing his wife. Like this is something that's all you hear in the news all the time. There's always,
Yeah.
a spouse killing another spouse, whatever, or abusing or their child, whatever, right?
Yeah.
So he's like his example was a husband that was abusing his wife. She gets away, and then she moves on with her life, and then he comes back. And so what he says though is to and twist it and have the roles reversed. So have the
Okay.
woman coming, she finds her ex, whatever.
Yeah.
And so he has a whole exercise here and says like to kind of twist it. So basically what he's like he's kind of saying is helping us to come up with a story idea and how to sort of make it a little bit different which is what I mean. A lot of agents today are always saying, to take a trope and twist it a little bit,
Yeah.
make it different, something that hasn't been done before. And so, I mean, this is advice that's still applicable for today, even though he wrote this in 23 years ago,
Yeah. Yep.
essentially. So, yeah, and so I don't know. We could talk about it, but I thought that would be a fun little exercise to do.
Oh yeah, that'd be cool as hell.
There's a lot here, guys. Honestly, there is a lot. I would definitely recommend picking up this book. Even if it's just like for me, it helps sort of pull me out of this like writing slump that I'm going through right now and
Yeah.
help me to see that you know, maybe you're like me and you're a plotter or you plot out the beats or you're a heavy plotter and maybe you're stuck on a story because you're trying to overthink it. I think like his advice of just using your intuition is probably the best advice out there because you already know how to write a story. You already know the certain beats that you're going to need in your story, and they will just sort of like unfold as you write. So I'm going to try that with this next story that I want to write. I'm really going to try to see if I
Yeah.
could just sort of go through without having to plot everything. I'm a little
That'd be
nervous.
awesome. I'm excited.
I'm a little nervous.
Yeah.
Well, because I feel like there's gonna be a lot of editing when I'm done. Like when I'm done, then I don't have to go back and like edit, right? But I mean, you gotta edit either way. Whatever,
Yeah.
it is what it is. But yeah, so we didn't get through everything, guys, and we're already at an hour. Eek, this is
Yeah.
probably one of our longest episodes.
For sure.
Um, so I don't know, should we do part two? Should we
Part two.
just do a part two? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So we're gonna end here. There's more stuff that I wanted to talk about that I had highlighted in this book. There's a lot of really good stuff, and kind of I don't know if you feel like this is helpful to you, or if you feel like maybe you've been in this our situation that we are in right now. Ken, I know once he gets better, he's gonna rock it, and I'll probably still be, trying to figure out life. Just kidding.
Hopefully.
All right, guys. So we will see you. This is gonna air a little bit late. And then we're just after this, we're gonna follow just our regular 2 weeks, our regular
Yeah.
2 week schedule. So we're just gonna go. It's gonna be late, but you know what? It is what it is. But anyway, I hope that you guys enjoy this episode. We'll see you guys in a couple weeks.
Yep.
Bye.
Bye.
That's it for today's episode, friends. We hope you learned something new today. Please follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube under Two Writers Walk Into a Bar podcast. Our YouTube episodes will upload on Thursdays, the day after the show airs, if you want to watch. And if you want your query letter and first 3 pages critiqued and read on air by us, send them to our email at twowritersinabar@gmail.com. Put query on air in the subject line. We will read them on a first come, first served basis. Remember, we are here to help, inspire, and celebrate. Two Writers Walk Into a Bar podcast is produced by Brava Media Group.